Commander Vrask stood in the control room of his massive warship, staring at the glowing image of a blue and green planet floating in the darkness of space. His three eyes blinked slowly as he studied the world below. It looked peaceful, almost beautiful, with white clouds swirling across its surface. What do the scans tell us? Vrask asked his second officer, Thren, who was working at a nearby console covered in alien symbols and flashing lights. Thren tapped a few buttons and read the information carefully. The planet has primitive technology, Commander. They use radio waves for communication. Their weapons are based on chemical explosions. Very basic. Very weak. Vrask moved closer to the display. What about their military strength? They are divided into many different nations, Thren explained, pointing at the map that showed borders drawn across the continents. No unified planetary defense system. No space fleet. They fight among themselves frequently. A clicking sound came from Vrask's throat, which meant he was pleased. In his 20 years serving the Jothic Collective, he had conquered 14 worlds. This would be his 15th. It looked like it would be the easiest conquest yet. How long until they surrender? Vrask asked. Thren calculated quickly. Based on previous invasions of similar civilizations, I estimate 72 hours, Commander. Perhaps less. Vrask nodded. Excellent. Begin the attack immediately. No warnings. No negotiations. Strike their military bases first, then their centers of government. I want this planet conquered before the Council even knows we are here. Yes, Commander, Thren replied and began giving orders to the fleet. 20 warships moved into position above the planet. Their weapons charged with a humming sound that vibrated through the metal walls. Then, without any warning to the people below, bright beams of pure energy shot down from the sky. On the planet's surface, Colonel James Mitchell was drinking his morning coffee in his office at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado. He was looking at routine reports when suddenly the entire building shook violently. His coffee spilled across his desk. Alarms began screaming throughout the base. Sir. A young lieutenant burst through his door, his face pale with fear. We're under attack. Attack? By who? James demanded, standing up quickly. We don't know, sir. But it's coming from orbit. Multiple strikes confirmed across the globe. Beijing is burning. Moscow is gone. London just went dark. Andrews Air Force Base was destroyed 30 seconds ago. James felt his stomach drop. This was impossible. No nation on Earth had orbital weapons. He ran to the command center, where dozens of personnel were shouting into radios and typing frantically at computers. Every screen showed the same nightmare. Cities burning, military bases reduced to smoking craters, and massive objects descending through the atmosphere. Get me eyes on whatever is attacking us, James ordered. A satellite image appeared on the main screen. What James saw made no sense. Huge ships, bigger than aircraft carriers, hung in the sky like dark metal clouds. They were not human. They could not be human. Aliens, whispered Major Sarah Bennett, standing beside him. They're actually aliens. James grabbed a radio. This is Colonel Mitchell. Authorization code Sierra 79er. Activate all defensive protocols. Get every fighter in the air. Contact every base still operational. We are at war. Across the ocean in Chicago, Captain Thomas Reed was leading his platoon through morning exercises when the sky lit up with fire. Explosions rocked the downtown area. Skyscrapers collapsed like toys. People ran screaming through the streets as strange aircraft swooped overhead. Take cover. Thomas shouted to his men. They barely made it into a building before another explosion shook the ground. Through the broken windows, Thomas saw them. Soldiers in strange armor walking through the ruins. They were not human. They had gray skin, multiple arms, and they moved with cold efficiency. Open fire. Thomas ordered. His soldiers aimed their rifles and fired. Bullets flew toward the alien soldiers. But something impossible happened. The bullets hit an invisible barrier around the aliens and bounced away harmlessly. The alien weapons fired back. Bright bolts of energy cut through concrete walls like they were paper. Fall back. Move. Thomas screamed. His platoon retreated through the rubble. Thomas saw one of his men get hit by an energy bolt. The soldier simply disappeared in a flash of light. No body. No blood. Just gone. As they ran, Thomas saw something that made his blood turn to ice. One of the alien soldiers stood over the body of a small girl, maybe 7 years old. The alien was scanning her with some kind of device, studying her like she was an insect. There was no emotion on its face. No remorse. Just cold curiosity. Something dark and terrible awoke inside Thomas at that moment. These creatures had come to his world. They had killed without warning. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong. Back in space, Commander Vrask reviewed the first reports of the invasion. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Human military forces were scattered and confused. Their primitive weapons could not penetrate Jothic shields. "Commander," Thren said, "we have intercepted their communications. We now know what they call their planet." "What is it?" Vrask asked without much interest. "They call it Earth." Vrask entered the name into the collective's vast database. He waited for information to appear. Nothing came up. No warnings. No special designations. Just another nameless rock in an endless galaxy. "It means nothing," Vrask said. "Continue the invasion. I want their leaders surrendering by tomorrow." But far away in the ancient archives of the Galactic Council, buried under centuries of forgotten files and lost data, there was a document. Its title glowed faintly in the darkness: Quarantine World, Earth, Class 12 Death World, Extreme Danger, do not engage under any circumstances. The warning had been filed away long ago. Forgotten. Lost to time. And now the Jothic Collective was about to learn why that warning existed. General Rebecca Stone stood in the emergency command bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, military leaders from every nation on Earth appeared on video screens. Some wore uniforms. Some wore suits. All wore the same expression of shock and anger. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rebecca began, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. 72 hours ago we were separate nations. Today we are one species fighting for survival." The President of the United States spoke from a secure location. "General Stone, what are our options?" Rebecca looked at the maps showing alien positions across the globe. Red markers covered every continent. "We're outgunned. Their shields stop our bullets. Their weapons cut through our armor like butter. We've lost 40% of our military bases and 60% of our air force." "Then we should surrender," said one of the European leaders. "Save lives. Negotiate terms." "No." The word came from Colonel James Mitchell, who stood beside Rebecca. "They didn't come here to negotiate. They came to conquer. If we surrender now, humanity becomes slaves. Or worse." Rebecca nodded. "Colonel Mitchell is right. These aliens think we're weak because we're divided. They think we'll break easily. They don't understand humans. We don't break. We adapt." She pulled up new tactical displays. "We're changing our strategy. No more large battles. We use guerrilla tactics. Hit and run. Make them afraid to leave their camps. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We'll survive this." In the Texas desert, Lieutenant Mark Cooper crouched behind a sand dune with his squad of 12 soldiers. They had been hiding for 6 hours, waiting. The sun was setting when they finally saw what they were looking for: an alien patrol, 6 soldiers in their shimmering armor. "Remember," Mark whispered, "aim for the joints where the armor connects. That's where the shields are weakest. Fire and move. Don't stay in one place." The aliens walked past, confident and careless. They thought humans were no threat. They were wrong. Mark gave the signal. His squad opened fire from 3 directions at once. The aliens' shields flickered as bullets struck the weak points. 2 aliens fell immediately. The others turned to fight, but Mark's squad was already moving to new positions. "Grenades!" Mark shouted. Explosions rocked the desert. When the dust cleared, all 6 aliens lay dead. Mark's squad collected their weapons and equipment, then disappeared into the night before reinforcements could arrive. "That's how we fight," Mark said to his soldiers. "We're smaller but we're smarter. We know this planet. They don't." Deep underground in what used to be a subway tunnel in New York, Dr. Helen Wright worked by the light of battery-powered lamps. She was a physicist before the invasion. Now she was humanity's best hope for evening the odds. On her table lay pieces of alien technology her team had recovered from battlefields. Weapons, armor fragments, and most importantly, a damaged shield generator. "The shields work on a rotating frequency," Helen explained to her assistant, a young engineer named Tom. "They change the frequency every 3 seconds to prevent weapons from adapting." "So we can't break through?" Tom asked. "I didn't say that." Helen smiled tiredly. She had not slept in 2 days. "The rotation follows a pattern. It has to, or the shield would collapse. If we can predict the pattern, we can time our shots to hit between the rotations." She connected her laptop to the shield generator and began typing code. Numbers and equations filled the screen. "It'll take time," but I think I can create a targeting system that syncs with their frequency rotation. Our bullets will know exactly when to fire. How long? Tom asked. 2 weeks. Maybe 3. The aliens won't wait that long. Helen looked at him with fierce determination. Then we work faster. Aboard the warship Dominion, Commander Vrask stared at casualty reports that should not exist. In 3 days of fighting he had lost 200 soldiers. 200. In previous invasions he had lost maybe 20 total. How is this possible? Vrask demanded. They are primitives. Thren looked nervous. Commander, they are not fighting like we expected. They do not gather in large armies. They strike from shadows, from buildings, from underground. They attack and disappear. Our soldiers are afraid to patrol alone. Afraid? Vrask's voice was dangerous. Jothic warriors do not fear primitives. With respect, Commander, perhaps we should study these humans more carefully. They are adapting to our tactics much faster than any species we have encountered. Vrask turned to his computer console. Very well. Access their information networks. I want to know everything about these creatures. He began searching through Earth's internet, through their history books, through their military records. What he found made his blood run cold. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Not just small conflicts but massive wars that killed millions. They had invented weapons specifically designed to kill other humans with terrible efficiency. Poison gas. Nuclear bombs. Biological weapons. Vrask pulled up images from something called World War II. He saw cities completely destroyed. He saw human soldiers fighting in frozen wastelands, in burning deserts, in flooded jungles. He saw them continuing to fight even when victory seemed impossible. Thren, Vrask said quietly, these are not primitives. These are warriors. They have been fighting each other since before the collective existed. What does that mean, Commander? Vrask looked at the planet below and for the first time in his career he felt something unfamiliar. Fear. It means we have made a terrible mistake. We did not invade a peaceful world. We invaded a planet of predators. And worse, we have given them a common enemy. On Earth, in a bombed-out building in London, Captain Sarah Bennett spoke into a radio connected to captured alien communication equipment. She had a message for the invaders. Attention Jothic forces, she said in a clear, strong voice. You came to our world without warning. You killed our people. You thought we would surrender easily. But you don't understand humans. We have fought wars you cannot imagine. We have survived things that would destroy your species. And now you have done something very, very stupid. You have united us. Every nation, every soldier, every person on this planet now has one goal: make you leave. We are coming for you. And we will not stop until you are gone. She turned off the radio and looked at her squad. They were tired, hungry, and scared. But in their eyes she saw something the aliens would never understand. Hope, determination, and the absolute refusal to give up. Let's move out, Sarah said. We have work to do. 6 weeks had passed since the invasion began. The Jothic controlled most major cities but they controlled nothing else. Every road was dangerous. Every building could hide human fighters. Every night brought new attacks. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Helen Wright finished her work. She held up a small black device no bigger than a cell phone. It looked simple, but it had taken her team 43 days of non-stop work to create. This is it, Helen said to the military officers gathered around her table. I call it a frequency predictor. Attach it to any weapon, and it will sync with the alien shield rotation. When you pull the trigger, it waits for the exact microsecond when the shield frequency changes. That's when the bullet goes through. Colonel James Mitchell picked up the device carefully. Does it work? Only one way to find out, Helen replied. 2 hours later, James stood in a firing range with a rifle that had Helen's device attached to it. 50 meters away, his team had set up a captured alien shield generator. The shimmering barrier glowed in the dim light. James aimed and fired. The bullet passed straight through the shield and struck the target behind it. The room erupted in cheers. Soldiers hugged each other. Some cried with relief. For the first time since the invasion, they had a real weapon against the aliens. How fast can we make more of these? James asked. Helen smiled, though exhaustion lined her face. We've already started. Every factory still operating is building them. In 1 week, every soldier on Earth will have one. In the ruins of Berlin, Major David Walsh received his frequency predictor 3 days later. He attached it to his rifle and gathered his battalion of 200 soldiers. Listen up, David said. For 6 weeks we've been running and hiding. Today that changes. Today we take the fight to them. His target was an alien supply depot in the center of the city. The Jothic had fortified it heavily, believing their shields made them untouchable. David's forces attacked at dawn. The aliens raised their shields, expecting the bullets to bounce away harmlessly as they always had. But this time the bullets went through. Alien soldiers fell, their expressions of shock frozen on their gray faces. The Jothic tried to retreat, but human forces surrounded them from all sides. The battle lasted 30 minutes. When it ended, the supply depot was in human hands and 50 alien soldiers lay dead. David stood among the captured alien equipment and weapons. He grabbed his radio. "Command, this is Walsh. The predictor works. I repeat, the predictor works. We can beat them." All across Earth, similar battles erupted. In Tokyo, in Cairo, in Sydney, human forces struck back with their new advantage. The aliens, who had been winning easily for weeks, suddenly found themselves dying. Aboard the Dominion, Commander Vrask watched his tactical display with growing horror. Red alerts flashed across every continent. His forces were losing ground everywhere. How did they adapt so quickly? Vrask shouted at Thren. "It's been 6 weeks. Most species take years to develop countermeasures." Thren pulled up data on his screen. "Commander, I've been studying human history. I think you need to see this." He displayed images and text from Earth's databases. Wars. Thousands of them. Battles fought with swords, then guns, then tanks, then aircraft. Humans fighting humans in every climate, in every terrain, using every tactic imaginable. "They've been perfecting the art of war for 10,000 years, Thren said quietly. "They don't just fight. They study fighting. They write books about it. They teach it in schools. Every generation learns from the last generation's battles." Vrask scrolled through the information. He saw something called the American Revolutionary War, where farmers defeated the most powerful military in their world. He saw the Vietnam War, where a small nation fought off a superpower. He saw guerrilla tactics, urban warfare, psychological operations, and strategies that even the collective had never considered. "By the void," Vrask whispered. "We didn't invade a primitive planet. We invaded a warrior culture." In London, Captain Sarah Bennett stood on the roof of a reclaimed building. She had set up captured alien broadcasting equipment and was preparing to send a message on their own frequencies. Her technical officer, Lieutenant Robert Hayes, gave her the signal. "We're live, Captain. Every Jothic ship in orbit will hear this." Sarah looked into the camera and began to speak. "Attention Jothic forces. My name is Captain Sarah Bennett of the British Army Earth Defense Coalition. I have a history lesson for you." She held up a tablet showing images. "This is World War I. 20 million dead. This is World War II. 80 million dead. This is Vietnam. This is Korea. This is Iraq. This is Afghanistan." She showed image after image of human conflicts. "For our entire history we have been fighting wars. Not against aliens. Against each other." Sarah's voice grew harder. "Do you understand what that means? It means we know every trick, every tactic, every strategy of warfare. We've fought in frozen tundra and burning deserts. We've fought in cities, jungles, mountains, and oceans. We've invented thousands of ways to kill because we've been killing each other for millennia." She leaned closer to the camera. "You thought we were weak because we were divided. But you've done something remarkable. You've united us. 7 billion humans now have a common enemy. You." Sarah showed one more image, a map of Earth with human forces marked in blue, pushing back alien positions everywhere. "This is today's battle map. Notice something? You're losing. We're taking back our world, city by city, battle by battle. And we won't stop until every single one of you is gone or dead." She turned off the broadcast and looked at Robert. "Think they got the message?" Robert checked his instruments. "Every ship received it, Captain. We're picking up a lot of alien chatter now. They sound scared." On the Dominion, Vrask sat in his command chair, his 3 eyes staring at nothing. Around him, his officers worked frantically, trying to coordinate defenses that were collapsing everywhere. Thren approached carefully. "Commander, we've lost 30% of our ground forces. Human attacks are increasing in frequency and effectiveness. Our soldiers are requesting permission to retreat to fortified positions." "Retreat?" Vrask said the word like it was foreign. In 14 previous conquests, he had never retreated. "Commander, we need reinforcements. We cannot hold this planet with our current forces." Vrask knew Thren was right. He activated his long-range communications array and sent an emergency message to the Jothic Collective Command. "This is Commander Vrask of the Dominion. The invasion of the planet designated Earth is failing. Request immediate reinforcement fleet. The species here is far more dangerous than initial scans indicated. I repeat, requesting immediate reinforcements. He sent the message and waited. What he didn't know was that his transmission was intercepted by another force in the galaxy. The Galactic Council, a coalition of peaceful species that monitored conflicts between civilizations, received his distress call. A council member, a being named Elder Kelvin, read the message with growing alarm. Did he say Earth? Kelvin asked his assistant. Yes, Elder. The Jothic attacked a planet called Earth. Kelvin's face went pale. He rushed to the ancient archives and began searching through files thousands of years old. Finally, he found it, a red flag document with warnings written in a dozen dead languages. Quarantine designation, Earth. Class, 12 Death World. Danger level, extreme. Native species, apex predators. Warning, do not engage under any circumstances. Kelvin read the full report with mounting horror. Earth was a high-gravity world with violent weather, deadly diseases, and a dominant species that had evolved by hunting and killing everything else on their planet. The species was classified as extremely aggressive, highly intelligent, and impossibly stubborn. Send a message to the Jothic immediately, Kelvin ordered. Tell them to retreat from Earth at once. Elder, they're requesting reinforcements. Then tell them reinforcements will not save them. They've attacked a death world. May the cosmos have mercy on them because the humans will not. 3 months after the invasion began, humanity was no longer defending. They were attacking. Admiral Richard Cross stood on the bridge of the carrier ship Defiance, watching Earth's atmosphere grow distant below. The ship was not built for space combat. It was a modified aircraft carrier, fitted with rocket engines and sealed compartments. It looked ugly and rough, held together with welded metal and prayer. But it flew. And it carried weapons. Admiral, all ships reporting ready, said Commander Lisa Parker, his second in command. Richard looked at the fleet around him. 15 ships, all converted from naval vessels and cargo freighters. They had no shields like the alien ships. No energy weapons. Just missiles, railguns, and human determination. Take us to battle stations, Richard ordered. Today we show them that Earth fights back in space too. The human fleet accelerated toward the Jothic warships in high orbit. The aliens detected them immediately. Aboard the Dominion, Thren reported to Commander Vrask. Commander, the humans have launched spacecraft. 15 vessels, primitive design, approaching our position. Vrask studied the display. The human ships looked like children's toys compared to his warships. They're attempting space combat? Destroy them. The Jothic fleet turned its weapons on the approaching humans. Energy beams lanced through the darkness. The first human ship, a converted container ship named Liberty, took a direct hit. Its hull split open and it tumbled away, trailing debris and bodies. Evasive maneuvers. Richard shouted. All ships scatter and attack. The human fleet broke formation, each ship moving in unpredictable patterns. They were slow and clumsy compared to the alien warships, but they were also small and harder to hit. The Defiance launched its missiles. Dozens of them streaked toward the nearest Jothic destroyer. The alien ship's shields absorbed most of them, but 3 got through, punching holes in the hull. Direct hit. Lisa called out. We hurt them. But the human ships were taking terrible damage. Another vessel, the Freedom, lost its engines and went dark. A third ship, the Valiant, took a hit that killed half its crew. Richard watched his fleet dying around him. They couldn't win this battle with conventional tactics. The aliens were too strong, too advanced. Then he remembered something his grandfather had told him about the Second World War. About pilots who flew their planes into enemy ships when they ran out of ammunition. All ships, Richard said into his radio. If you're out of weapons or critically damaged, you have permission to ram enemy vessels. Make every death count. There was silence on the channel for a moment. Then one by one voices responded. Freedom copies. We're out of missiles. Beginning attack run. Valiant copies. Engines damaged but still functional. Ramming speed. The aliens watched in horror as human ships that were crippled or out of ammunition turned toward them and accelerated. The Freedom slammed into a Jothic cruiser at full speed, the explosion tearing through both vessels. The Valiant crashed into another enemy ship, its remaining crew shouting defiant war cries until the moment of impact. They're insane. Thren screamed at his console. Commander, they're deliberately destroying themselves to damage us. Vrask stared at the display in disbelief. What species sacrificed their own lives like this? What kind of warriors chose death over retreat? The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, 12 of the 15 human ships were destroyed. But they had taken 5 Jothic warships with them, including 2 heavy cruisers. Richard stood on the damaged bridge of the Defiance, surrounded by smoke and sparks from broken systems. Half his crew was dead. But they had won. "Send a message to Earth Command," Richard said. "Tell them we hurt the enemy. Tell them space is no longer safe for them." On the ground, the war had turned completely. Lieutenant Anna Brooks led her battalion through the streets of Frankfurt, Germany. They were no longer hiding or running. They were hunting. "Contact ahead," reported Sergeant William Grant. 20 alien soldiers, fortified position in the old bank building. Anna studied the building through her binoculars. The aliens had barricaded themselves inside, believing the thick walls would protect them. "Bring up the artillery," Anna ordered. Human forces had captured alien weapons and vehicles during the previous months. Now they turned those weapons against their former owners. A captured alien tank moved into position and fired its energy cannon. The bank building exploded in a blast of purple light. Anna's soldiers moved in, clearing the rubble and securing the position. They found 15 dead aliens inside. The other 5 had retreated through underground tunnels. "They're running now," William observed. 2 months ago they chased us. Now we chase them." Anna nodded. "Keep pushing. We retake this city by nightfall." Similar battles happened across every continent. Human forces, now armed with both their own weapons and captured alien technology, pushed the invaders back systematically. In a secure bunker in Washington, General Rebecca Stone interrogated a captured Jothic officer named Kelran. The alien sat in a chair designed for humans, looking uncomfortable and frightened. "Why did you attack us?" Rebecca asked simply. Kelran's translator device spoke in halting English. "Your world showed as primitive. Divided. Weak. Easy conquest. But we're not weak." "No," Kelran admitted. "Your scans were incomplete. We did not know about Earth's classification." Rebecca leaned forward. "Classification? What classification?" Kelran seemed reluctant to speak. Finally he said, "Your world is designated as Class 12 Death World in the old galactic records. The highest danger rating. Most intelligent species evolve on gentle worlds with low gravity, mild climates, peaceful environments. Not Earth." He continued, his voice shaking slightly. "Your gravity is twice what most species experience. Your diseases would kill us without protection. Your weather creates storms that destroy cities. Your oceans have predators that could swallow our ships. And your species? What about our species?" Rebecca prompted. "You are apex predators. You hunted and killed every competing species on your planet until you stood alone at the top. Most civilizations never meet predators. They are prey animals that learn to think. They don't understand hunting. They don't understand war. Not like you do." Rebecca sat back, processing this information. "So we were supposed to be left alone?" "Yes. The quarantine designation was filed millennia ago. But the records were lost. Commander Vrask did not know. None of us knew. We thought you were just another primitive world. You were wrong." "Yes," Kelran said quietly. "Very, very wrong." Rebecca stood and walked to the door, then paused. "You can tell your commander something for me? Tell him that Earth is reclaiming its territory. City by city. Mile by mile. And when we're done on the ground, we're coming for his ships. All of them." Kelran looked at her with his large, dark eyes. "He already knows. He sent a message requesting reinforcements 3 weeks ago." "And?" Rebecca asked. "The Galactic Council intercepted it. They sent a reply. No reinforcements are coming. We are ordered to retreat immediately or face Council sanctions. The Jothic Collective has abandoned us." Rebecca almost felt sorry for the alien. Almost. Then she remembered the millions of humans who died in the first days of the invasion. "Good," she said coldly. "Then you'll face us alone." She left the room, leaving Kelran sitting in the too small chair, contemplating the terrible mistake his people had made. They had attacked Earth without warning, expecting an easy victory. Now they were learning a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Never, ever attack a death world. And especially never attack the death world called Earth, where the dominant species had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war against each other. The Jothic had brought war to humanity's doorstep. Now humanity was teaching them what real war looked like. 4 months after the invasion began, Commander Vrask knew he had lost. His fleet was crippled. His ground forces were scattered and dying. And reinforcements were never coming. He stood on the bridge of the Dominion, watching the tactical display show nothing but defeat. Red markers indicated where his forces had been destroyed. Blue markers showed human forces advancing from every direction. "Commander," Thren said quietly, "the humans have breached our final defensive perimeter on the ground. They will reach our landing zones within hours." Vrask looked at his second officer. Thren had been with him for 15 years, through 14 successful conquests. Now they would die together on the 15th. "Prepare the fleet to retreat," Vrask said finally. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. "Commander, the human space forces are blocking our escape route. They have positioned their remaining ships directly in our path." Vrask pulled up the display. 3 human vessels, battered and damaged, floated between his fleet and open space. They were tiny compared to his warships. But he knew those humans would ram his ships if he tried to leave. They would sacrifice themselves without hesitation. What kind of species fights like this? Vrask wondered aloud. Admiral Richard Cross stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the alien fleet on his sensors. His ship was held together with emergency repairs and luck. His crew was exhausted. But they held their position. "Admiral, the alien flagship is hailing us," Lisa reported. "Put them through," Richard said. Vrask's face appeared on the screen, his 3 eyes blinking slowly. "Human Commander, I am requesting permission to withdraw from this system." Richard almost laughed. "You attacked us without warning. You killed millions of our people. You destroyed our cities. And now you want permission to leave." "Yes," Vrask said simply. "We have been defeated. By all laws of war we request safe passage." "We didn't know there were laws of war in space," Richard replied. "You certainly didn't follow any when you arrived." Before Vrask could respond, another voice interrupted. "This is Elder Kelvin of the Galactic Council. I am requesting both parties stand down while we discuss terms." A new image appeared on the screen showing a tall, thin being with blue skin and 4 arms. He looked old and tired. "Who are you?" Richard asked. "I represent the Galactic Council, a coalition of civilized species that maintains peace in this region of space. The Jothic attack on your world was unauthorized and illegal. We are here to mediate." Richard looked at the alien with suspicion. "Where were you 4 months ago when they were bombing our cities?" Kelvin's expression showed what might have been shame. "We did not know about the attack until it was already happening. By then we were afraid to intervene." "Afraid?" Richard said. "Afraid of what?" "Of you," Kelvin admitted. "When we learned the Jothic had attacked Earth, we checked our ancient records. Your world is classified as a Class 12 death world, the highest danger rating in the galaxy. On Earth, President Elizabeth Harris sat in a conference room deep underground, listening to the same conversation through a radio link. Beside her sat General Rebecca Stone, Colonel James Mitchell, and Dr. Helen Wright. "What does that mean, Class 12 death world?" Elizabeth asked. Kelvin's voice came through the speakers. "It means your planet should never have been approached by any spacefaring species. Most intelligent life evolves on worlds with gentle conditions. Low gravity, stable climates, abundant food sources. Earth is the opposite." He continued, and his voice carried a mixture of fear and respect. "Your gravity is crushing to most species. We would need mechanical suits to even stand on your surface. Your diseases are lethal. Your weather creates storms that we classify as natural disasters. Your oceans contain predators larger than our spacecraft. And your species," Kelvin said carefully, "evolved by hunting. You are apex predators. You killed every competing species on your planet until nothing could challenge you. Then, with no external enemies, you turned on each other and spent 10,000 years perfecting warfare. Most species in the galaxy are prey animals that learn to think. You are predators that learn to think. There is a significant difference." Elizabeth absorbed this information. "So we were supposed to be left alone?" "Yes. Your world was quarantined millennia ago. No contact, no observation, no interference. The warning was clear: Earth is too dangerous. But the records were lost over time. The Jothic did not know what they were attacking." "They know now," Rebecca said grimly. Kelvin nodded on the screen. "Indeed. Which is why we are offering Earth membership in the Galactic Council, along with full reparations for the damage caused. We will help rebuild your cities. We will share technology. We will ensure this never happens again." Elizabeth looked at her advisors. James nodded. Rebecca remained stone-faced. Helen looked excited at the prospect of alien technology. "We accept your offer," Elizabeth said. "But the galaxy needs to understand something. We didn't start this war. We didn't want this war. But we finished it. And if anyone else decides to attack Earth, they will learn the same lesson the Jothic learned. What lesson is that? Kelvin asked. James leaned forward and spoke into the microphone. That humans are peaceful until we're not. That we're reasonable until you force us not to be. That we will try diplomacy first, but we will always be ready for war. Because war is what we know. It's what we've always known. In space, Vrask listened to the human's words and felt something he had never experienced before: respect for an enemy. These humans had beaten him not through superior technology, but through sheer determination and tactical brilliance. Elder Kelvin, Vrask said. I request permission to address the human commander directly. Granted, Kelvin replied. Vrask looked at Richard on the screen. Admiral Cross, I have conquered 14 worlds in my career. I have faced armies 10 times larger than yours. I have defeated species with technology more advanced than the collective. But I have never faced an enemy like humanity. You fight with a ferocity I cannot comprehend. You sacrifice yourselves without hesitation. You adapt faster than should be possible. If I survive this day, I will carry one message back to my people. Never ever attack Earth again. Richard nodded slowly. Your fleet is permitted to leave. But you leave behind every weapon, every vehicle, every piece of technology. You go home in your ships and nothing else. And you leave now. Agreed, Vrask said. The Jothic fleet, battered and broken, limped away from Earth. Of the 20 warships that had arrived, only 8 remained. They left behind their defeated ground forces, who surrendered to human authorities. 6 months later, a new spacecraft launched from Earth. It was called the Indomitable, the first ship designed by humans specifically for space travel. It combined human engineering with captured alien technology and knowledge shared by the Galactic Council. General Rebecca Stone stood on its bridge as the ship took its position among the Council fleet. Around her, alien species watched nervously as the human vessel passed. Colonel James Mitchell stood beside her, looking at the stars through the viewport. Think they'll test us again? He asked. Rebecca shook her head. Not after this. Word spreads fast in the galaxy. They'll know what happened here. And what happened here? James asked with a slight smile. They learned that humanity doesn't look for fights. But we sure as hell finished them. Across the galaxy, in 100 different languages, a new story began to spread. A story about a species from a dangerous world called Earth. A species that was peaceful until provoked, but became unstoppable when threatened. A species that had spent their entire history preparing for war, even though they had never known enemies would come from the stars. And in that story, there was a phrase that other species tried to understand but never quite could. A phrase that captured something essential about humanity. 3 words in the human language that echoed across space stations, trade routes, and military academies. Humanity, fuck yeah. It meant something about human determination. About refusing to surrender. About being knocked down and getting back up stronger. About protecting your home and your people no matter the cost. The Jothic learned it the hard way. And the rest of the galaxy learned from their mistake. Never attack Earth. Because Earth fights back.